We've got 5 Rams position battles that could be overtaken, wide open spots. Also, an update on Jalen Ramsey, and ESPN projects the Rams stats for the 2025 season. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Trying to get to 18,000 subscribers. We need you to hit the like. It really helps out the channel. Also, in all your comments down below. To all the podcast listeners, we appreciate you. Subscribe and write a review. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Locked On, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I'm flying solo, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. He's out today. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got a jam-packed show. ESPN, they just released their projections for the Rams players and their stats. The stat projections for the 2025 season by ESPN is out. Also, we've got an update on Jalen Ramsey. I'll save it until the end of the show. I want to make sure you guys don't miss a thing when it comes to the Jalen Ramsey trade pursuit. But we're going to start today with position battles. Which groups, which positions are up for grabs heading into the 2025 season? And I want to start with the wide receiver spot, because we know that Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, they're going to take the top 2 spots, really a 1A type situation. Hopefully that's how it works out. But the third spot is really interesting to me, because the Rams, they kind of surprised a lot of people, including a lot of Rams fans, when they brought back Tutu Atwell on a 1-year, $10 million deal. And he most likely is going to get the runway. He's going to get the opportunity to be that guy that's in that spot to stretch the field. And Sean McVay has already said that it's on him to put together packages where he can be optimized, where he can have success. But if there are other receivers that can outshine him in training camp and open eyes, or there's an injury, who could take that spot? Could it be second-year receiver out of Texas, Jordan Whittington? He had some moments as a rookie. Looks like your prototypical Rams receiver. He's physical. He's a willing blocker. He can move the change. He's strong. That's an interesting name, too. Then, how about the 7th-round pick, Konata Mumfield? That is a name that, if we're talking about a lot, that means that he has turned some heads. And where are his strengths? We've talked about on this show. Not the explosive, take the top off a defense type of receiver, but he is someone who's known for his route running and how precise those routes are. He also has good hands, has had some moments at the college level that say, okay, this guy looks like he could be a pro, but he's, of course, down that depth chart. And he had a really nice career at Pitt, and we'll see if he can be someone that can kind of step up and kind of be a guy that could be one of those diamond in the rough type of receivers, diamond in the rough type players for the Rams. We know they've had a lot of success doing that throughout the years. And he started his collegiate career at Akron. Really good his freshman year, 63 catches as a freshman there, 751 yards, 8 touchdowns. And then his entire body of work in college, 2,700 yards receiving, 19 touchdowns, an all-ACC honorable mention. But it was the exceptional route running, really. I mean, that's why he is going to be given a shot at the next level, is that ability to kind of just master the art of running routes. I'm excited to see what it looks like. Not a huge guy, but body control, got the hand-eye, 5'10", but he can adjust the ball. Just has this really great knack for just kind of making plays out there. So this guy could maybe carve out a niche in the slot? Could he be one of those guys that could just have his way in an offense that's tailored to guys like him having success? So remember, Cooper Kupp was a relatively unknown player. Puka Nacua is a relatively unknown player. Could Mumfield be that next guy? That's going to be one thing to look at. We'll talk more about him. But that third wide receiver spot, it's going to be 2-2s to start, but this Rams team won't bat an eye if someone else emerges and makes a run at that position. And now the next one we're going to talk about is the inside linebacker spot. Now, this is always an interesting position for the Rams just because they don't prioritize or emphasize this position like other defenses do around the National Football League. But there's talent here. Omar Speights, a UDFA, goes to Oregon State, to LSU, makes his way on the Rams, and then he took over in the Rams' final 10 games of the 2024 season after Troy Reeder was injured, and the numbers went up. The production went up. It was a position that was a glaring weakness early on that kind of balanced out a little bit towards the end when Speights took over, and now Troy Reeder is back, but he's not a lock to be a starter. He's going to have to earn that spot. And then the Rams added veteran Nate Landman in free agency, previously of the Atlanta Falcons, to come on and compete for a spot as well. But the name I'm looking for at this position is Chris Paul Jr., fifth-round pick out of Ole Miss. This is someone that was projected to be a maybe a third or at the worst third-round pick, possibly a little higher than that if everything went his way. But this is a guy that has a ton of talent. He has the sideline-to-sideline speed, open field tackles, can also cover, too. Is one of the best at being a coverage inside linebacker at the collegiate level. And the Rams, they went up to get him. They made a point to add to this position to get talent. I think they've gotten more athletic last couple of seasons with Omar Speights and Chris Paul Jr. So it's kind of going to be one of those things that where you kind of roll the dice on the more athletic, higher upside players like a Chris Paul Jr. Do you allow Omar Speights to continue where he left off and just continue to grow at that position? Because the Rams, they just brought back Alec Jackson at UDFA, right, who had a down year, then picked it up in a big way, earned himself a nice contract. The Rams aren't afraid to go with UDFAs and allow them to learn on the job, go through the bumps and bruises and the process of learning at the NFL level, and then kind of make your way out of it as a guy who kind of solidifies that position. Could that be for Omar Speights? I think that really is what they want to do. And then with Reeder and Landman, they're veterans, right? So it's kind of their ceiling isn't as high, but their floor is definitely high, kind of what you get from them. Kind of replacement level, kind of average-ish, that can make the occasional play that you feel really good about. But that's another position that's currently in flux for sure. And then we talked about this a lot with the trade speculation, but how about the outside cornerback for the Rams? So right now, you are going into the 2025 season with essentially the same group, that you went and competed with last season. That wasn't a terrible group, but that is a group that they could improve on significantly. Last season, the Rams gave up the 20th most passing yards in the National Football League, the 26th most passing touchdowns. So with guys like Ahkello Witherspoon, Darius Williams, Kobe Durant, Emmanuel Forbes and Durant only guaranteed this season. You also have Darion Kendrick come back from the ACL injury. Not a lot of high upside talent, not a lot of elite in that group. So that's why I think it's still essential that if the Rams are looking at a position that they want to improve upon and upgrade, it has to be the cornerback spot. But as of right now, I think that Forbes is a wild card. We'll see what he looks like in the Rams system as far as his body. People make a lot about his weight and how he's not one of these big buff guys and he's kind of undersized from a weight standpoint at the position. But what does he look like? He's a former first-round pick. The guy who has the record for most pick sixes at the collegiate level for him. And has he taken to the Rams' tutelage and taken what they've learned from him and implemented it and improved and have the Rams unlocked him? So he's a wild card. Kobe Durant, it makes you wonder in a contract year, I think for him, wanting to get a new deal, wanting to make sure he sticks on this league, he has a great opportunity this season. We'll see if he sees that. Ahkello is a guy that we know what he looks like. Kind of the rap on Ahkello has always been early in seasons, he looks good, then he tails off, then he looks good again. I mean, he looked good towards the end, had the big game-saving play against the Cardinals late in the year. But, yeah, I think Akello is a guy that you kind of have as your safety net there and your depth piece. And Darius Williams, I mean, he's back and he's been solid, but hasn't been elite, to say the least. So I still think the Rams are very interested in making that position more of a weapon, more additive, someone that it's not, okay, we're just trying to get by what we have. We're trying to get a guy in there that we feel like could enhance this group and be a plus, not just, oh, we had to hide this position. I think that really has to be kind of the thought process there for Les Snead, Sean McVay, and this Rams organization. But coming up next, we got more position battles, and ESPN, they just released their stat projections for the 2025 season for Los Angeles Rams. Then we'll get a quick Jalen Ramsey update later at the end of the show. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. This is how it works. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high-quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. By the way, what's your favorite Rams logo? Is it the LA or the horns of the new ones? I like the LA. LA is sick. But cannot thank you enough. If you're new to the channel, new to the podcast, knows a lot of new listeners, a lot of new viewers lately, join the Ramley. Join that Every Listeners Club. All you got to do is watch or listen to an episode every time we drop it, Monday through Friday, and then you won't miss a thing about the best football team in the land, the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, here in our second segment, a couple more positions that are open heading into the 2025 season right now. Then we do those stats projections, and the next one we're going to talk about is the center spot. This one's pretty simple. I mean, Coleman Shelton is going to be the Rams center in 2025 unless he loses that job. They brought him back in large part because he's a veteran. Les Snead, Sean McVay, they mentioned some of the communication breakdowns that Bo Limmer had in the NFC divisional round game where the Rams lost to the Eagles, and Jalen Carter gets in there, blows up the play, and if that doesn't happen, maybe the Rams are hosting an NFC championship game the following week, and who knows, the Rams might have won the Super Bowl. You never know, right? Is that likely? Probably not, but still fun to think about. So they did go out, they brought back Coleman Shelton, but he's not a lot to stay there all season. He still has to perform, and Bo Limmer, he started 14 games in his rookie year. So anytime you start 14 games, that tells you that they did have a lot of trust, and he kind of won. He was one of those players that really stepped up for the Rams last season when Jonah Jackson couldn't hold it down. He dealt the injuries, and he was big for them. So we'll see if Shelton holds on to the job. I think of all these position groups, he's the guy that goes into the season with a really strong, firm hold on his position, but he could also lose it as well. And we'll see if Bo Limmer has made a big jump this offseason and towards the start of the year, because he's a very strong guy. Lots of potential, lots of upside there. So Bo Limmer is still going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then lastly, let's talk about the tight end spot. So tight end, the Rams, they took Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon with their top pick, the 46th pick in the draft in the second round. There were reports that they had Ferguson as their top tight end. They were even considering drafting him at 26 at one point. Well, we'll see if he looks the part early on. If he can be that threat, that flex tight end, up and down the seams, moving the chains, making big catches, using that speed. We had the fastest 40 time of the NFL tight ends at the combine of the college guys coming up, where he led the FBS last season with just over 9 yards after catch. Does he bring that skill set, and does it translate to the NFL in year one? We've seen a lot of tight ends. Sam Laporta. We've seen Dalton Kincaid. We've seen lots of tight ends have immediate impacts. Can he do just that? Brock Bowers, who the Rams wanted badly. Can he be the Rams' Brock Bowers? And you look at his competition. Tyler Higbee, he's getting older. He's been banged up. He only played 3 games last year, coming back from that catastrophic knee injury. And you look at the other guys that were available, Colby Parkinson and Hunter Long, and none of these guys really stepped up and took that position by the horns. So, yeah, if you want to take the bull by the horns, the Rams' horns, well, Terrence Ferguson, he does have an opportunity to do just that. So those are where some of these position battles are right now, some of the open ones, a lot of intriguing battles, and it's going to be an exciting training camp, guys. And I'm telling you, football's in the air. I can smell it. I can feel it. I can hear the cleats clacking, the pads hitting the helmets at some point. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I can feel like it's just getting closer and closer, and it's just making me extremely exciting because there's nothing better than football. And now I'll talk about some of these projections, though. I'm going to run through these really quick. ESPN, Mike Clay, he threw out his projections for the 2025 season, and he said, kind of just a little heading into this, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, he does say that players mostly top out of 15 games, so he kind of accounts for possible injuries and guys missing a game or two. So that's something to consider as well. But quarterbacks, he's got Matthew Stafford, 15 games, 340 for 519, 3,935 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Look, I mean, you take that. I want to see a 4,000-yard season with Stafford. I want to see a 28 to 30 touchdown season for Stafford. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo playing in 2 games, throwing for 541 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, yeah, I mean, with Stafford, if he did throw just 25 touchdown passes, that would be a good thing and a bad thing. It'd be good in the sense that it told you that he didn't miss significant time. It would be the most he's thrown since the 2021 season. That year, though, he threw 41 touchdown passes. So is he going to get 41? That's a lot, right? Him and Cooper Kupp went all world that year, went into God mode. But 30, I'll take 30. And last couple of seasons, he's averaged 3,864 yards. So that would be pretty much your standard Matthew Stafford season at this point. But it'd be nice to see him have an uptick this year. Something like 4,300 yards or 4,200 yards and 5 more touchdowns and getting single-digit interceptions. I mean, that would be pretty awesome. That's what I'm looking for in May. Of course, where hope springs eternal. Then from the running back spot, Kyron Williams, 14 games, 266 yards, 1,174 yards, 11 touchdowns, 36 catches, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. Blake Corum, 95 carries for 412 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9 catches, 64 yards. And how about this Jarquez Hunter, 38 carries, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 catches, and 30 yards. So with Williams, it's pretty similar. In the last 2 years, Kyron has averaged 12-22 on the ground with 13 touchdowns last 2 years. And I think that's pretty consistent. I mean, 266 carries in 14 games would be good. It would be good to see an uptick in the production from the backup spot. And, yeah, based on how Clay views it, he doesn't see Hunter as a guy that's going to be a big impact running back. I think that they could see more from him. Has him at just 164 yards. So we'll see. I mean, the Rams, they're not going to be a team that's going to pound it too much, right? They don't rely too much on the running game. So that's kind of where that stands. But still, I mean, it's important. And they're going to, and I think that for the longevity of Matthew Stafford to pace the season out, I want to see them running more frequently. Then wide receivers, you got Puka Nacua, 99 catches, 1,312 yards, 6 touchdowns, 13 carries, 77 yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams, he has had 126 targets, 79 catches, 1,080 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2-2, 43 catches on 68 targets, 538 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Whittington, 30 catches for 365, 2 tutties. And Xavier Smith, he has that 7 catches, 82 yards. So clearly he's got Puka Nacua as WR1 for the Rams, but also an 1,000-yard season for Devontae Adams. So that definitely is really good. You're looking at 2 receivers with 1,000 yards. Rams haven't had that in a while. So having Puka Nacua healthy is going to be the number one thing. And you know he's going to be out there. He's going to be really productive. Atwell, last 2 seasons, he was at 483 yards and 562 yards. So that's pretty consistent with what we've seen. But I think for $10 million, I would hope to see more. 750 to 800 with more touchdowns, I think would make me feel a lot better about bringing him back. And then the tight end spot, Tyler Higbee, he has as their most prominent tight end, 49 catches, 453 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Terrence Ferguson at 22 targets, 16 catches, 161 yards, 1 touchdown. So I feel like they're going to get more out of Terrence Ferguson. He's got pretty much the same thing for Parkinson, 12 catches, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Then Davis Allen with 4 catches. So that's pretty on the low end for Ferguson. But offensively, if you take that, you live with that. So just kind of a fun projection to give you an idea of how they're going to be utilizing them in this offense this season. And tomorrow we'll take a look at the defensive side. But coming up next, a quick update on Jalen Ramsey. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to give a shout out to those viewers on YouTube, listeners on the podcast. Cannot thank you enough. But let's dive into it in our third segment. And when I say it, of course, I mean an update on Jalen Ramsey. And yes, I know it feels like right now it's Locked On Ramsey, but I don't want you guys to miss a thing. I want you guys to be up to date on all the available information. That way you're not surprised. Did keep this one to our third segment, so it wasn't too crazy today. But here is the latest on Jalen Ramsey. So NFL Network's Cameron Wolf, he gave an update saying that nothing is imminent, but things could change very quickly once June comes around. He said, I was told nothing is imminent. There had been conversations draft weekend and throughout May in regards to Jalen Ramsey. There's interest, but right now there's nothing imminent. There's nothing closing at this moment. It's been relatively quiet, but one thing I was told was to keep an eye on that June 1st date. The Dolphins would take over a $25 million cap hit if they traded him before June 1st. That number drops to under $7 million if they trade him after June 1st. So that tells you right there that obviously they're going to wait till June to do anything, even if there is some handshake, wink, wink deals kind of in place or whatever you think could happen behind the closed doors, text messages, calls, by a vending machine somewhere. I don't know. But still, the truth is, you're not going to see anything until June 1st. He also said, I expect him to get traded sometime in June or July. They have talked to a lot of teams. I'm told the Dolphins are aware of teams that Ramsey would be interested in. So there you see there's multiple teams, one, and that Jalen Ramsey is working with the Dolphins to find teams he's interested in being traded to. So that tells me that, hey, the fact that there is a good relationship between the Rams, Les Snead and Ramsey, the familiarity is there as far as he knows his role and what it would be in this defense. And then also, we're going to compete for another championship. And the fact that Les Snead and Sean McVay have been so open about the fact that there has been conversations, it leads me to believe that something is very possibly brewing between these two sides. And I wouldn't put it past them. I think it's definitely something that's very, very possible that you could see Jalen Ramsey in a Rams uniform. But if you're expecting anything before June, that's not going to be the case. But we're getting to June very quickly here. Things are just flying by. And Now we're going to just wait until it does happen. Now, quickly, I wanted to read this. Stan Kroenke, he released a statement on the death of Colts owner Jim Irsay. And it reads, "We are deeply saddened by the passing of Jim Irsay, one of our game's most passionate ambassadors. He loved his family, his team, his city, and our league, and his commitment to our collective success helped move the NFL forward for many decades. His legacy will be felt beyond the game of football through his philanthropic endeavors, his love for music, and his important efforts around mental health. Our thoughts are with the Irsay family, friends, and the Colts organization and their fans who support the cherished throughout his entire life." And Kroenke said he loved his family, his team, his city, and our league, and his commitment to our collective success helped move the NFL forward for many decades. So, yeah, Jim Irsay, he started working with the Colts back in 1984. They won 316 regular season games, 13 postseason games. They won a Super Bowl, which you got to feel great about for him. And he was the vice president, general manager in 1984, and then he became the owner and CEO in 1997. He actually became the youngest NFL team owner at the age of 37. And interesting story how it relates to the Rams. In 2009, he was against a group of owners led by Rush Limbaugh that tried to buy the St. Louis Rams, and he voiced a lot of concerns about how that deal would go down. He said, "I myself could even consider voting for him when there are comments that have been made that are inappropriate, incendiary, and insensitive. Our words do damage, and it's something that we don't need." So Kroenke became the owner of the Rams in 2010, and he instantly got support around the league. So I don't care how anyone feels about Rush Limbaugh. I care about the fact that Stan Kroenke became the Rams owner because he's as deep-pocketed and committed to winning as any owner in sports. So this was a great thing for this organization. And RIP to Jim Irsay. And, just definitely a sad story for sure. But, all right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification with a like button, and write us a review on the podcast. I'll read it on the show. But that's going to do it. See you guys tomorrow. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.